If the idea of never having a glass of wine ever again makes you feel like you're missing out, let's break down whether quitting alcohol is even necessary if your goal is natural weight release in perimenopause and post-menopause. I tried quitting alcohol many times in the past, when alcohol-free during the first few months of 2020, only to see it find its way back into my life. Now it has been 4 years since my last sip, and I genuinely do not miss it. So what changed? Why did I quit? And do you also need to quit alcohol? The answer comes down to 3 specific factors, and that is exactly what we're covering today. And if you do not need to quit drinking, I will also give you my best tips on how to select the healthier choices, including best wines, so you can leave this video with clear answers on what is right for you. But before deciding whether to quit alcohol, the first question to ask is a more specific one. Is alcohol actually contributing to your weight gain or weight resistance? And if so, how? When I work with my clients, my first step is to test their DNA so we can map how their bodies are designed, which helps us answer these questions. But if you haven't tested your DNA yet, start by looking at your symptoms. Do you feel bloated or inflamed after drinking, even the following day? Is alcohol impacting your sleep? How do you feel the following morning? And what about cravings? To me and many of my clients, alcohol acts as a gateway to late night snacking, cravings for salty treats, things such as chips and cheese, and it leads to short-term decisions without properly weighing long-term consequences. If that is you too, then this is your sign that the impacts are greater than just the sugar or caloric content of what is in your glass. This brings us to the second factor. Are you a moderator, or do you need to abstain for mental freedom? Even if alcohol is not causing obvious symptoms for you, but moderation feels like an exhausting daily negotiation, you may want to consider quitting alcohol altogether. This was my usual melodrama. Every time I decided to cut back, I would make it work for a little while, and then stress would hit, or a challenging social situation would come up, or I would simply have a long day and suddenly 1 glass becomes 2, 2 becomes 3. And then the promise that I had made to myself to cut down on alcohol would feel like a faraway memory. What I did not understand at the time was that I'm not genetically coded as a moderator. My DNA showed me I have all or nothing tendencies, and I get stuck in the pleasure response, leading to binge type behaviors. This is a valuable skill in some areas of my life, which allows me to concentrate on projects and client work for hours on end, but not so helpful when it comes to tempting foods and drinks. And to make matters worse, my incredible husband is a moderator. He is able to pace himself even around his favorite treats, so by comparison, I often felt that something was wrong with me. It was not until I understood my DNA that I was able to stop blaming myself and instead learned to work with my body and honor my design. So ask yourself honestly, when you decide to have just 1 drink, how often does that actually happen? Are you able to stop, or does the internal negotiation wears you down? Once you have your answer, the final step is to uncover why you drink. So aside from parties or special celebrations, if you find yourself drinking or craving alcohol during weekdays, let's go deeper. Our minds go through a series of decisions in order to determine how we will act at any given moment. I like to think of this as a subconscious calculator, which can add up the pros and cons of any situation in record speed. When the math is done, we tend to pick what brings us more advantages than drawbacks. And mind you, this happens faster than you realize. When it comes to alcohol, the payback can be relief, relaxation, reward for a long, hard day, or the sense of belonging if you like to drink with others. When I reflected on this question for myself, I discovered I used to drink mostly when stressed and frustrated, until I realized that every day offered many opportunities to feel frustrated and stressed. A convenient vicious cycle to keep drinking. But because the drawbacks of alcohol were nicely hidden in the back of my mind, and pleasure, relief, and even a sense of status when I would pour a fancy wine into this beautiful Riddle crystal glass was pretty obvious, my subconscious calculator would tell me to pour another drink. Let's pause here for a moment. What I just described is what I call your hidden emotional saboteur. This repeating pattern that tips the scale towards immediate gratification anytime life feels hard or stressful, working against your goals and your waistline. And I want to help you uncover yours. So I created a free self-assessment that has helped hundreds of women do exactly that, and I want to gift it to you today. So click the link in the description, and in just a few minutes, it will uncover your hidden emotional driver, shaping how your body responds to stress, food, and drinks. After completion, it will receive immediate feedback as well as the antidote. So instead of powering through another attempt, you will know precisely what has been working against you deep in your subconscious mind and how to address it at the root. And if you prefer, you can also just comment quiz below and we will send you the link to the self-assessment. Once you take the quiz and you reflect on these 3 factors we just talked about, if you determine, however, that alcohol does not need to leave your life entirely, that's fine. Here's what I want you to know. Not all drinks are created equal, so let's learn to make smarter choices together so you know what is in your glass. So the 3 criteria to pay attention to if you want to make better choices is going to be sugar content, alcohol content, and additives. And most of this information is not going to be on the label, which is actually why so many people have no idea what they're actually drinking. So when it comes to sugar content, opt for spirits, which have no sugar added. And if selecting wines, look for ones labeled as dry or extra dry and aim to stay below 10 grams per liter, but below 5 would be even better. If that information is not available at the store level, you will be able to find by searching the wine online. This is key because sugar content varies dramatically. Sparkling wines can contain over 20 grams per liter, and some of those fruity wines over 67 grams per liter. This can lead to significant spikes in blood sugar, trigger further cravings, and impact your waistline. In terms of alcohol content, lower alcohol does not automatically make it healthy, but if you can, keep it below 12.5% whenever possible, as the industry standard alcohol content for wine is around 14%. And lastly, when it comes to additives, sulfite is the only additive winemakers are legally required to disclose. However, they often add acidifying agents, color enhancers, different kinds of yeast, as well as fining agents to help clarify the wine. Things such as albumin from egg whites, casein from dairy, chitosan from shellfish, and bentonite clay, amongst others. Some of these are potential allergens and they could be present in your wine without you ever knowing. The easiest strategy for making a safe selection is by choosing wines from countries with strong regulatory standards. All European producers that are part of the European Union must follow EU regulations, which are very strict, with some countries having even more restrictive standards. These regulations apply to countries that are using the appellation system, a set of regulations of how wines are classified, labeled, and in some cases where the grapes are grown. For European wines, look for these specific ones, which guarantees the wines are produced with high standards of quality and not always at a high price point. Outside of Europe, countries may still have an appellation system, but the rules are looser. For instance, in the US, they have the AVA, but it only indicates a geographical location of the wines. In Canada, their system is called the VQA, which at its core, it's about the origin of the grapes, but also it prohibits certain practices such as adding water or grape concentrate to their wines. Whenever possible, ask the winemaker about the process now that you know what may be happening behind the scenes. These filters alone will make you a far more informed and intentional drinker. And while these tips will serve you well at your next dinner party, the most important question still remains the one that only you can answer. What role alcohol is actually playing in your life, and is it serving you? You may not have the obvious physical symptoms when drinking, or maybe you are one of the lucky few that are able to drink in moderation, like my husband. But if alcohol has a stronger pull than you would like, let's set aside a few minutes to take the quiz to uncover your number one hidden emotional saboteur and what to do about it. The answer you get from this self-assessment will do what years of trial and error could not. tell you exactly what's been driving your choices and what to do about it. So click the link in the description to take the quiz or comment quiz below, and we will send you the link to take the self-assessment. And make sure to watch this video next to go deeper on your weight release journey.